Hey there, Math 7 students. Today we need to talk about slope-intercept form of an equation of a line. First, we need to discuss what an intercept is, right? The x-intercept of a line is the x-coordinate of the point where the line crosses the x-axis. It occurs when y is equal to 0. And the y-intercept is the y-coordinate of the point where the line crosses the y-axis. It occurs when x is equal to 0. That brings us to slope-intercept form, a linear equation written in the form y equals mx plus b is in slope-intercept form, right? The slope of the line is m and the y-intercept of the line is b. So now we have a couple problems where we need to find the slope and the y-intercept. So we have this equation here, y equals 3/4 x minus 5. Is this in the form y equals mx plus b? Yes, because there's y by itself. There's a number in front of the x, and then there's a plus or a minus sign and another number, right? And the number in front of the x, if there's only one x term, right, is your slope. And so this is 3/4. So our slope is 3/4. And the y-intercept, it says minus 5. So our y-intercept would be negative 5, right? That sign goes with that number. So our y-intercept there is negative 5. Let's try another one. Ooh, y plus 1/2 equals negative 6x. First, we need to get this in the form y equals mx plus b, right? And so what do we have to do there? In order to do that, we need to subtract 1/2 from both sides. So minus 1/2, minus 1/2. And our equation should be y equals negative 6x minus 1/2, right? So what's my slope? My slope is the number that's with the x. In this case, it's negative 6. And what is the y-intercept? That's this guy right here, that minus 1/2. Minus 1/2, or negative 1/2 rather. Okay, well, how do we use the slope-intercept form of an equation of a line to graph the line? The first thing we do is we find, so we have our equation, y equals negative 2/3 x minus 2. And the first thing we want to do is we want to figure out what is our y-intercept. Where does it cross the y-axis? So if that's our y-intercept, that's b. It's negative 2, right? So I find my y-axis, I find negative 2, and I put a point right there. Okay, now my slope is negative 2/3. Negative 2/3. Because it's negative, that means it goes downhill from left to right. All right? So if we end up plotting points and it's going like this, we did something wrong, because that would have a positive slope. But we want something with a negative slope. So negative 2, and remember, slope is rise over run. So I'm going to go, if my slope is negative 2/3, I would go down 2 units and to the right 3 units, and I would put a point. And I would go down 2 units and to the right 3, and I would put another point. Now I can also go up 2 units and back 3 and put a point. I could go up 2 more and back 3 and put a point. And then I want to connect those dots with a smooth line, a straight line as possible. Okay, there we did it. It has a y-intercept of negative 2 and a slope of negative 2/3, meaning it goes down 2 and to the right 3, or up 2 and to the left 3. Now, what is the x-intercept? does say to identify the x-intercept. Where does it cross the x-axis? 1, 2, 3. It looks like it crosses the x-axis at -3. So our x-intercept is -3. Let's do one more problem. The cost, y, in dollars for making x friendship bracelets is represented by the equation y equals 0.5x plus 2. Graph the equation, interpret the y-intercept, and the slope. Well, I changed the decimal into a fraction because I think it's easier to graph fractions as slope. Graph it when the slope is a fraction. Because slope is rise over run. It tells me how many units to go up or down and how many to go across. And our y-intercept is just 2. So the first thing we want to do if we're graphing this is we want to find 2 on the y-axis. Remember, this is our y-axis, so we go up 2 and we put our point right there. And my slope is 1/2, so that means I would go up 1 and over 2. So up 1 unit and over 2, and I put a point. I go up 1 and over 2 and put a point. Up 1 and over 2, up 1 and over 2, up 1 and over 2. Okay, you don't actually need to draw these little up and overs. They are to help you see how the slope goes. And so we connect those dots and we draw a line. Now we also needed to interpret the y-intercept and the slope. The slope is 0.5, so the cost per bracelet is 50 cents, right? And the y-intercept is $2. So there's initial cost of $2 to make the bracelets. Well, that is it for today. I hope this helps, and I hope you're all well. We'll see you next time.